Elizabeth Street, Little Italy. Hangs with his pals, yeah, that's where he'll be. It's Vinny, a friend of mine. Stand-up guy from the Lower East Side. Take it from me, he's one of a kind. It's Vinny, Vella time.
Who's better than you?
Hello, good evening, and welcome once again to Tell It Like It Is, the Vinny and Mariana show. Minus Vinny. It's the Mariana show tonight. I'm all by myself tonight. So, a little bit of an update. Vinny was doing great after he dealt with a minor health scare a few weeks back. He was progressing wonderfully. He was doing everything the doctor told him to do. Unfortunately, a couple of days ago, he started feeling weak, so he decided to go to the doctor. And he was admitted into the hospital yesterday morning, and they told him that he had pneumonia. So for the next 24 to 48 hours, he will be in the hospital, just recovering and getting back to his normal self. So Vinny, I know you're watching out there, and we're thinking about you, and we're missing you tonight, but we'll see you back here real soon. Now, before we start our show, and with our fantastic guests that we have here tonight, I wanted to mention a couple of audience members that we have. We have Rob Klein, who's a fabulous photographer and a dear friend of the show. And I wanted to mention also, there's an event happening 2 days from today at the Dream Hotel, and it's going to be a cabaret event with the cast of Cabaret on Broadway. They are holding this event because they're fundraising for Equity Fights AIDS. So if anybody wants to check this out, go to the Equity website. There's a calendar that he photographed of all the different cast members, and you can find all the details on there. So please, please go on the website, and it's for a great cause, and look at the calendar and purchase the calendar. We also have another photographer here who's also fabulous, and he's such a sweetheart. We have Jonathan Shorey, and he is here with us tonight as well, and I'm very happy that he joined us. And we have one more person who's a very special guest, very special audience member. Her name is Valeria, and she was a former Miss Universe from Germany. She is absolutely gorgeous, and hopefully, if Vinny gives me the okay, we'll have her as a guest on the show real soon. Now, as for tonight, someone who has been really, really special to Vinny and to myself. His name is Erik Hoover. He's not only Vinny Vella's manager, but he is also the president of Global Branding, which is branding globally, acting locally. So everyone give a warm round of applause to Mr. Erik Hoover.
Thank you.
Hi.
You got that.
Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
So, you went to visit Vinny.
I went to visit
this
Vinny.
afternoon.
I did, and yeah, we have that in common. And Vinny looked good. He's doing great. And, you know, true to Vinny's style, he wanted me to give a shout out to his nurse, Nina.
Of course you would.
Very happy with, of course.
Nina,
you're
out
Nina,
there
you're
watching.
being thought of. Yes.
Of course.
So, and he was
How's he
in
doing?
great spirits. He was in great spirits,
Yes.
and wishes he could be here, of course.
Of course.
But he figured he'd send me in.
Well,
take over for him for tonight.
You're representing him very well.
We'll see, of course. I'm one of his biggest fans, as we all are.
So, well, let's start talking about how did you first meet Vinny? How long ago was that?
I'll tell you, it wasn't that long ago. You know, I know of Vinny Vella, as most people do. We all know from it's almost 20 years ago from Casino. But I'll tell you that I was walking down Elizabeth Street with a friend of mine, Todd, who happens to own a lot of Italian restaurants in Hong Kong, and he was just visiting and walking down Elizabeth Street and went by Momo's, which we all may know, a lot of people may know about Momo's meat shop, and Vinny was in there.
The meat shop,
yes. On Elizabeth Street between Prince and Houston, and he happened to be inside but with the lights off. And I looked through the window and I said, oh, this place has got to be closed.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was Momo and Vinny sitting in there. And Vinny's like, come on in. So I'm like, okay, all right, come on in. It's a closed meat shop in Little Italy. So
what time was it?
This was probably 5 or 6 or 7, but getting dark, no lights on the inside.
All right.
So my buddy and I went inside, and I said, I know you. I know who you are. And yeah, you know, Artie Piscano, Casino, that whole thing. And I guess that's how it all started, you know. And I asked him what he was doing. He was always working, of course. But, you know, I've just been lucky in finding and running into people that have something special to offer. Not just being an actor, but also as a brand, this possibility as a brand. And hanging out with Vinny and becoming friends with Vinny, you find out that Vinny is really an anomaly. He's
He
one
really
of those
is.
people that is very special. He's extremely charismatic, and I've never seen anybody like him.
No,
I've never seen
there
anybody.
really isn't anyone like him.
I've never seen anybody like him be able to attract as much attention in such a positive way, and so many people enjoy him so much. And not only that, but Vinny enjoy them.
Yes.
So that's the big thing with
Yes.
Vinny. You know, Vinny loves making people happy and laugh,
does.
and
He
they just
does.
love it too. So it's fantastic. I mean,
It
to
is
walk around with Vinny
fantastic.
it's a show in itself.
It really is.
You know, and that
you
does-
never know what he's going to come
No, you
out
don't.
with. You don't.
You don't. You don't.
It's
And
always
that's the
very
surprise. You're always going to get a
unexpected.
surprise, like Cracker Jack.
Yes.
Cracker Jacks with him. Yeah. So there's a lot of fun times with him, and so we decided to work together on a couple of good projects. And right now, there's a lot going on with Vinny Vella. You know, there's a number of things.
So basically, through your company, that you're
Yep.
the president of global branding.
That's right.
You decided to kind of branch out and make a brand of Vinny Vella.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
So what are you venturing out in right now, as far as how you see him, how you perceive him to be selling him to
Yeah,
different
I'll tell you,
companies?
when I first saw Vinny, I thought, okay, I see this guy as, you know, the Kansas City underboss, right? I see the Artie Piscano, and I think of Casino, and then I think, well, of course, Italian food. You know,
Right.
that's the first thing I thought. Italian food, I see, oh, wow, I see all those things. But then you look deeper into Vinny, and you find out that there's a lot more there than that. So not only was it the product side that I thought of initially, but I went right to the show side of this guy needs to have his own show,
His own
right?
show.
And
Reality
he is his
show.
own show in itself anyway.
Yes.
But it needs to be publicized, right? So,
Well, and not only him, but the people that surround him,
of course,
his immediate
of
family.
course,
Yes.
of course, absolutely. His wife and his mother-in-law and his son and everyone on there are really just such fantastic people, and it's a show in itself.
It really
in a really
is.
great way. So what we thought of is, you know, that we wanted to in some way package that and see if people were interested. And what
That's
we've had
exciting.
is a lot of interest from a number of people, and we've been in talks with, and I can say this, with one of the biggest film companies there is now, Relativity, for months, and working something out. And now we have more than one interested. So we're deciding where we want to go and what that would consist of, and what
Right.
that show would consist of.
Right.
And so aside from that,
But with that, is your idea it being scripted, or it being just following him around and whatever he does, or it all depends how
it
who
all
ends
depends.
up?
It all depends. It's usually, I would say with Vinny, it's something that's probably unscripted.
Okay.
So I
Which
could tell you that.
would be so exciting.
Because he's, you know, he's
He
Vin-
is
he's
who he
Vinny.
is.
He's Vinny. So there's
Yeah.
that, and then you know, to your question, when it comes to the brand part of Vinny,
Yeah.
it's kind of doing something a little bit backwards than it's usually done with celebrities. Because in celebrity branding, we look at it with celebrity, what's the value that they have, and what can they become as a product. And with Vinny, I can see that already, but we can also ensure that that's a real successful product by having him on TV and have his own show.
And when you work with a specific celebrity like
Mm-hmm.
Vinny, do you always get their input as well as how they see themselves?
Absolutely.
And then you kind of just mold both ideas
Absolutely.
together
Sure.
in a way?
Sure, because really what it is, it's creating a brand, and it's looking at a person, whether they be a celebrity or a singer, a musician, any type of
Designer,
celebrity designer.
yes.
You look at them and you treat them just like you would a brand. So you come up with a brand statement,
Mm-hmm.
you come up with a brand positioning, where are they positioned, and in what market do they want to be in? Is it
Right.
food, is it luxury products, is it clothing, is it those type of things?
Right.
So the funny thing to tell you that is
Yeah.
recently I was in a meeting and we were talking about a big movie store, and the person looked at me and said, you know, I know a guy that I would love to do a campaign with, that I would love to work with, and it's this guy Vinny Vella, and I said, that's
You're
perfect.
kidding
I said,
me.
No, I
Out of
said, I
anyone
represent.
that they could
Yeah, I said, because I knew him from Elizabeth Street. He used to hang out in front of this butcher shop, and I said, yeah, of course.
I met him there in front of Momo's.
And I said, well, Vinny Vella would be perfect. And the
Yeah.
reason why was because he has these new set of Italian sunglasses, and they're beautiful, high-end, sold in a lot of the great stores, and he thinks that he would be a perfect representation for that, and he would be.
He would be.
He would be, and he loves sunglasses
He
too,
does.
so it's perfect.
Have you
for
seen him wear the glasses on the show?
I've had more
He's so
experience with
excited.
sunglasses and glasses, and Vinny will laugh at this, than
Yes.
anyone would care to know.
Oh boy.
Because we're constantly working on sunglasses or glasses with him. So there's a lot to Vinny, a lot of facets. And then, you know,
Yes.
in who's to say it doesn't turn into, you know,
It can
Vinny Vella,
evolve.
Vinny Vella pizzas, or, you know,
Yeah.
maybe it's Vinny Vella sauces, and it's things like that. So there's a lot there with Vinny, and it can go into other areas. So that's how it generally works.
Yeah. How do you end up choosing who you work with the celebrities? Yeah. What are the key components when you see a celebrity and you're like, that's the person I can really work with?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think that it's a feeling more than anything else,
I see.
And Vinny's a really easy one. That's not a hard one at all. When you see Vinny, you know right away what you're getting, what he's about, and how he can command attention. And
really
so that's something that is very, very special. So that translates to me into product. It translates into personal appearances. It translates into being on TV. It translates into the guy getting a script down and being able to keep right on it just like that.
Exactly.
So he is a great actor as well as all those other things. So that's rare. When it comes to other people, something you have to find in them that makes sense. And so I work with other people too. I work with other actors and things like that.
Which I would love to mention that you work with Drina De Niro.
Yeah, I work with Drina De Niro, and Drina, we got together because Drina wanted to work with products and create products that were something that she believes in, that she likes, and that are true to her. And she would like to work with companies that would create products that she could retail. And to do that, it's the same thing. It's making a brand statement. Who is Drina De Niro? It's a website. You go to that website and you see, and there's all those statements of who she is and what is she. And to me, when I look at Drina, I automatically think, okay, well, the first things that she should have are the things that she wears, because those are the first things that they would identify on a movie star, right? So Drina's been an actress, a director, and all of those things.
Well, yeah, she's been in over 30
many
films.
Things.
She was a model. She's Robert De Niro's daughter.
She's Robert De Niro's daughter, and she's also, she was a muse for Emporio Armani when they launched the line in New York. She's done a lot of the music for all the
supervision,
fashion, for Fashion Week, for supervision for the shows. So she has all of those facets to her, and she's also a mother. So there's all those things. She's a mother, celebrity, all of those things, which are in their brand statement.
Which I'm sure that stimulates your creativity, because she's just across the spectrum, wherever you want. Yeah.
You really could go anywhere. You could go, but really where we would want to start, and it's the first question people ask is, well, where do we start? We start with the products that people can see on you, because you're the celebrity. So it's watches, it's handbags, it's sunglasses, it's belts, it's accessories, it's jewelry. It's those type of things. So that's where we go with those type of things. And with different, actors are different things, But
absolutely. So you kind of gear it and cater it towards the specific person, and then see how things develop.
Sure, and it's, it's a presentation to companies that you feel that are matches. Because sure, you can get a lot of people to want to do something with her, but is it the right matchup? So ideally, you're looking at, like Vinny, you're looking at something that's Italian. I wouldn't want to see Vinny in a pair of sunglasses that weren't Italian.
No.
So that's one of those things. Those are those things that you can easily clearly delineate where he needs to be and what he needs to become as far as a product.
And is there a time frame? Do you ever rely on a deadline or anything like that? Because if you really want to be so specific and gear it to the person, the individual, you have to fight against time.
There is. The important thing is that you create a really solid foundation on anything, but especially a brand. And a lot of people, especially with licensing, they want to make money.
Can you expand a little bit on that, on licensing and how
because that's
the
really
process?
What it is.
Yes.
When you're branding, you're really looking to take a license out, and you're looking at a person as a value to a company, and what you're getting for that, and what they're getting as a licensor to a company is generally somewhere between 7 to 15% of net sales of a company.
Yes.
Which doesn't sound like much, but if you make millions of dollars, it adds up to an awful lot of money. If you're making $10 million and you're getting 10%, you're getting $1 million for a product that sells. So that's generally the way it is. But there's an awful lot of work that goes behind it and working on those things, because there's minimum guarantees, there's money up front, there's other things that they have to provide, there's things that you're obligated to do for personal appearances, for showing up. And most of it, believe it or not, is really not so much finding the right one, but making sure that you don't accept the wrong one.
Because if you go in the wrong direction initially, that might not lead into anything else.
Yeah, and it's really important for the first one.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why this show with Vinny and 2 or 3 of these really fantastic companies are interested in him.
For the reality show,
yeah,
yes.
for 4 shows. And one of them is, in fact, this new director who's just amazing director that's fantastic and has a lot of notoriety. And so these are really, it's flattering and it's great, and there's great pairings that can work together. And that's what we look for. You know, that's the magic that happens.
The magic.
And if there isn't magic in there, then I'm not interested really,
No.
because I don't feel like it's going to work. If I don't believe it's going to work, then I don't think that, you know, it probably won't. Everybody's got to believe and be on board.
Of course,
that's most important.
So, how did it all start for you? Because you grew up in Miami. You went to University of Miami. You also went to the prestigious Harvard School of Business. So how did this evolve? Because you worked with L'Oreal, correct?
That's
Before
correct.
you went to Harvard.
That's right. That's
yes.
right. That's right. So, you know, well, I'll tell you that I've always been involved in sales, and I think that's a big part of it, right? You're always at least selling something, or even if not selling yourself, and it's always about that. Yeah. So I grew up. My mother and father had a motorcycle shop, and called K Joe's, my father's name and my mother's name, Kay and Joe.
Yeah.
And
in Miami.
In South Florida, Boca Raton, actually, at the time.
Okay.
And sold Ducati and Moto Guzzi motorcycles, which at the time were not very well known. A lot of people now are like, wow, Ducati, Moto Guzzi. And but back then, people really didn't know or appreciate the brand as much. So I started by selling things in there, and you know, someone told me, find out what you really love to do and get someone to pay you for it. That just happened to coincide with me going to a fashion show in Palm Beach. I went to a Chanel show.
I see.
I was young, a lot of pretty girls, and I met a couple of guys.
I'm sure that sparked your interest.
There was a couple of guys that I knew that worked in the business and worked for Chanel at the time, and I asked one if he could help me out or mentor me, and that's essentially how it happened. I started in the cosmetic industry. And I worked with, and it's also kind of coincides with working with celebrities. I worked with Uma Thurman on launches of products, things like that. So you get exposed right away, whether it's fashion or beauty, you have that exposure, and then you start understanding those relationships with licensing and the value of them, and then the money that it can bring in. And from there, I've worked with a number of different companies. I've worked with Tweezerman, Lancome, and I've worked with color companies like Pantone. And a lot of people don't understand what goes behind the scenes of those companies, but like Pantone, for instance, which is a color company, they really provide colors that there's an IBM blue, there's a Ford blue that's specifically made. So there's things that have happened where, you know, we would work with Jay-Z on a specific color and those type of things. So there's always something that, you know, those type of things is going on. And with Tweezerman, I worked there, and
which is a luxury beauty tool.
Yeah, well, a lot of women in the United States know who Tweezerman is, and it's a great brand.
I actually didn't, so I had to look it up, and now I know.
Yeah, it's big because a lot of celebrities, it has a lot of celebrity followings, and it also has, it kind of crosses a lot of different demographics, as well as the high end, as well as more the low end. It's something that you can find in a very high end store, as well as in a drugstore in a different type of brand. But the significance of working with them was that I was able to bring Betsy Johnson there, and she did a design for Tweezer. And then it turned into, you know, a number of other people, Gwen Stefani and Harajuku Lovers and all of these other brands, and we call it designer series.
Right.
So that's what you see right now, a lot of brands doing these licensings.
Yes.
And I think you could probably bring it back to quite possibly J-Lo, and, you know, when she did her thing.
And even, I mean, Kim Kardashian.
Kim Kardashian.
She's one of the ones
She's a huge brand. Huge brand.
In everything.
Huge brand.
Sofia Vergara, my
huge.
She's Colombian, so I have to say that she's been amazing with all
everything. Those things are, it's amazing. You know, and even if looking at, you know, shows and potential of shows like the Wahlbergs and things. I know people who have done licenses for Blue Bloods. I know things like for shows, for people, for celebrities, for singers, and I've met with an awful lot of them. And you know, and a person.
Go ahead. No, but to that point,
Yep.
is it all through networking? How do you meet all these people? How, just going to events? How does it come to you? Because you've met.
I think it.
Just all over the place.
I think you know, it really, to be honest with you, it's kind of, you know, I went to Asia for a while. I worked there with some actors in Asia.
Which your company, the headquarters are in New York City and in Hong Kong.
That's right. And I started there really thinking that, you know, there was a new catchphrase that was out. It's called Glocal.
Yes.
Global brands acting locally, which makes a lot of sense because, you know, a McDonald's hamburger here isn't necessarily a McDonald's hamburger like we would know it in Korea or in Hong
not
Kong.
at all.
So there's different products. So it's really having different products for different people. And a lot of ways that people penetrate the Asian markets, they will do it with a movie star or something like that to legitimize what they're doing. So that's, you know, that's a lot of what the way it works, you know, in those different markets. And some are successful and some aren't.
Well, then again, going back to my question about the key components of who you work for, you definitely have to find a person that is going to reach the world.
Sure.
It can't just be specifically to...
Sure. You're right.
So
and
with Vinny,
with Vinny,
you would be able to touch everyone all over the universe.
Vinny has, you know, what I love about Vinny is that, you know, there's this 20th anniversary in 2015 for Casino.
Right.
So to me, I can see that. I could see Vinny rolling into Kansas City, doing a Kansas City morning show, of course, where he was Artie Briscotti, in the show, and I could see that, and I could see that turning into something else too. So there's a lot there.
And another thing, what you said about demographics, he really can reach people of all ages. It's not
funny.
the type of thing that he can only entertain people of his generation.
Yes,
it's just
true.
he relates to everyone.
Everyone, and people that you wouldn't think, because a lot of times, if you're walking down Mulberry Street, where, you know, it's our neighborhood, it's Little Italy.
As the AKA mayor of Mulberry Street, yes.
And we'll walk down Mulberry Street, and sometimes you'll think it's the local people, and it's not. You know, it's people from Ohio. That's like, I know you. I've seen you in this. I've seen you in Sopranos. I've seen you all over the place.
Because when I've gone out to restaurants with him, he's sitting right next to me, and people are just looking at him.
Oh yeah, of course.
They don't even know if they know who he is, but they just figure that there's something special about him, and they're
I was
mesmerized.
When Vinny went into the hospital this last time, just, you know, we're in the hospital, we go through you have to go through the emergency room to go in.
Yeah.
And sure enough, there's 3 police officers looking at him. They're going, we know this guy. And I said, well, we kid with him, of course. You go, oh, where do you know him from, right? You know. But he's like, no, we know who you're from. And then it turns into this photo shoot with Vinny in a gown, getting a photo shoot with the police officers.
I want to see this picture.
Oh, I have great pictures that he would probably only let me share. But yeah, that's the way it works. You know, it's a lot of belief in a brand, and a person is a brand, and what they can bring to the table. And Vinny is multifaceted.
He is,
and he's a real individualist. He's something different and something special.
He's something special.
And
he's so unique.
Yeah, and you know, it crosses boundaries because, you know, I do the actor thing, which is like the Vinny Vella thing, the Drina De Niro thing. And I've met with, as I mentioned before to you in the beginning, with Terrell Owens, T.O.
Right.
And seeing if we can do something with him.
And also the comedian with Steve
That's right.
Sarge Pinkman.
Yeah, Sarge Pinkman. Steve Sarge Pinkman is a really fantastic comedian and also
actor.
And
Pianist.
He's writing a book. Pianist. He's Juilliard trained. Amazing guy. He's like a hurricane coming through. But he's fantastic, and you should, if anybody wants to see something great, I think he's at IamSarge.com, and he's an amazing, talented guy, and he's in LA right now, meeting with some things, and he's very close with Gary Marshall. He was on New Year's Eve. Yeah, he was Bon Jovi's bodyguard and best friend in that movie. He's a very good friend for over 25 years. We grew up in Florida together. So there's those people, the comedians, and then there's also the sports, and then there's also like the Vidal Sassoon's daughter, Eden Sassoon, who I'm talking to right now, who really wants to carry on a legacy of her father. So then you run into those things, and it is legacies. You know, when you look at these things like the De Niros, and you look at, you know, the Sassoons, you know, they have something that they want to carry on, and there's a lot of value just in that name.
And there's a lot of that's exactly what I was going to say.
Just the name.
Just the name itself, people are going to recognize it's recognizable, and it just.
It's true.
Flows. Yeah.
And I was meeting and talking about Drina De Niro and doing a product. You know, it was funny because we were talking specifically about a product that's a company that works and likes to wrap their brand around the location of Tribeca. And I was saying that, well, is there any other name really than De Niro that you know,
there isn't,
that speaks to that area of town, with Tribeca Film Festival, with everything that's happened, and with everything that her father's done. So that's really essentially, I mean, how it works, and it's all about a feeling, you know. And when it comes to time frames, too, you mentioned, it's you can usually see if you get liftoff, but it's not fast. Right. It's different than entertainment. Entertainment, people will tell you, you know, okay, so you have 90 days to shop it. And in 90 days, you're creating a foundation at that point. You know, you're creating who that person is, what their value is, how do you communicate it, and how do you turn that into money, revenue, and a great brand that has longevity that's going to last.
Right.
So that's the key of branding. Because sure, could somebody come out with some kind of ab exerciser and you can go on TV for a little bit and then you're gone? Sure. But are you going to build a dynasty? That's different.
Not so much.
That's different.
So because I'm sure that we have a lot of viewers, well, especially even in New York City, there's so many actors that don't have the guidance or don't know exactly where to start off to find their own brand or to be able to market themselves. Any tips on people that, or secrets of the trade that you can let us know? That
There is. You know, I think that that I love, absolutely, you know, we look at squeaky clean people. A lot of the industry looks at squeaky clean people. When you look at the Derek Jeters of the world, my God, I mean, who couldn't see the value in that, right? I mean, 20 years, same team, New York, no trouble, all of those kind of great things. So those things are great, but also thinking of yourself as, you know, what you love and what you have a passion for. Because that's something that can't be faked with a brand. You know, somebody may want to be a brand, but listen, if you don't have passion for it and you just want to do it for the money, the chances are that you're probably going to...
It's not believable.
It's not believable, and people can see through that.
They can.
You know, it's not that type of thing where people can, you know, you can snow people anymore for that. You know, so there's an awful lot of people that want to come out with something just to make money.
Right.
And that just usually never works. It's
and
about,
from what it sounds, from where you're coming from, it's not about that. It's really, it's believing really in the person and just taking them wherever they can go. It's endless.
Yeah, you know, and what happens is on my part is that I end up being one of their biggest fans. You know, with like Vinny, Vella, I will think at him and I'll go, I mean, how can you not love this guy? You know what I mean? It's like, how could you not see all the value? I just see repetitious things. You know, I'll go sunglasses, pizza, tomato sauce, this, that, shows, TV, reality, more movies, and I just see a lot of things there. And if you don't see that, then you don't do it.
No.
You don't do it. So.
And when did you decide to start your own company?
You know, I worked for L'Oreal for a few years, and it was a great place to learn an awful lot of things. And, you know, the corporate world is the corporate world. You do things and you learn an awful lot that I don't think you could ever learn in any school. And whether that's Harvard or anywhere, you learn those things.
Yes.
But there's a certain point, too, that you think you might have your own ideas and you might want to implement them and do things that are different than other people. So while I was in Hong Kong, I had an opportunity to...
You were there for 3 years?
I was there for 3 years. I was there for 3 years. My wife moved there, and we decided to live in Hong Kong. And you know, I ended up working with actors there, and they are really consumers. You know, they're consumers of products and luxury products. And what we look at and what we see more of around the world, but specifically in Asian countries and countries that have money, is they look for three things. Generally, they look for things that have heritage. So if you look at Vinny, you know, heritage. If you look at luxury product and you look at price.
It's amazing. I mean, I think we can keep on going and going and going for hours. But Eric, thank you so much for joining me and enlightening me with all these ideas. And it's amazing.
Thanks.
Local branding, incredible. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you.
Yes, and representing Vinny in an excellent way. Thank you to our audience.
Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Who's better than you?